actually here, yeah. There. All right, we should be live now.
Should we check?
We should be live. No, actually, we can check here if people. Actually, let me write it here. Okay, let's wait for a signal from the community so we know they are live.
Yes. If you can hear us, raise your hand.
I think that the stream might not instantly start automatically for everybody. Yes,
okay,
live.
Perfect. Damien. Hi, Damien. Hi, Daniel.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining our live stream. We are live from our offices in Berlin, and we're quite glad to take this time and kind of like share our thoughts on the KuCoin hack, and also open up the conversations for you guys to ask us questions. So basically, the conversation today is about the hack that occurred at the KuCoin exchange on September 26. First of all, I will give you a little bit of an overview of what we'll be speaking about today. Let me check my notes. So basically, we will start with what the hack represents for us, what happened, and what was the impact so far. The second point we will touch upon is why we couldn't and we didn't change the token contract as some other projects did. The third thing is we will address a little bit for a second the liquidity in Uniswap. And then we will talk a little bit about the next steps also from KuCoin and what can you guys expect moving forward. And lastly, we will open up the conversation and we'll take some questions for the last, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe longer. So I will get started with what the hack represents for us. So as you guys know, the hack happened on September 26th. And it was, it took everybody a bit as a surprise. These things happen in the crypto world, but nevertheless, we were very surprised about it. Gladly, the amount that was stolen from LUKSO from the exchange was around 620,000 LUKSO, which represents only 0.6% of our total supply. It does represent 12% of the current circulating supply. This is obviously for us, it's important for us to keep ourselves aware of what this represents for us. Obviously there was a price drop, and the hacker was able to move the tokens out of KuCoin, and he moved them and started selling in Uniswap. The hacker has been slowly selling his tokens over Uniswap. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. And until this point, until today, he sold around 327,000 LUKSO. And he still holds around 294,000 of those tokens. They're solely sold over Uniswap. He cannot sell them in KuCoin, evidently, and because at this point in time, we are listed in this other exchange, which is a very amount that is traded, and it's not an official listing from LUKSO. He basically has only as an opportunity to sell is in Uniswap. So that's also very important to remember. The price at the point of the hack was around 75 cents of a dollar. Which represents we lost around 30% in value since then. Obviously, we took a hit. We are not happy about it. We're not happy that our community have to go through this. Unfortunately, this situation was pretty much 100% out of our hands, and we're working pretty closely with KuCoin to, mitigate the damage as much as we can, and open the withdrawal and all of those things as soon as possible, and obviously reinstitute the missing tokens. But we will talk about it later on and when we discuss the next steps. But basically, what we want to share with you guys also is why we didn't change the token contract, and I think Fabian will give you all a really good overview of why was not possible from our side and what was the technical reasons why we proceed the way we did. So Fabian.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, first off, I would like to add to this incident that if we are checking in the crypto space, most of the hacks that happened, or most of the losses that happened in the recent years, were actually almost all central systems like exchanges that were hacked. The only bigger real hack, not an accident like the parity hack, but an actual hack was the DAO back then, when the smart contract of the DAO had a loophole and a hacker could steal 50 million at the time in Ether. That was really large. Actually, this KuCoin hack is far larger than that. Now a lot of things got mitigated and got changed and reduced. So what I would like to say to this is that we basically looked at the situation, and we were also in contact with other teams who were also affected and discussed the situation. A lot of the other teams had the possibility that, I mean, first off, most of these tokens were ERC20 smart contracts on Ethereum, which obviously is a bit easier to change a token smart contract than changing a whole blockchain. So if you're already a running blockchain, forking your blockchain would be probably almost very difficult or impossible. And in the past, it led to a lot of community split ups. That's different, and that's easier with token smart contracts to some degree. A lot of the projects actually did that, and they swapped their token contract. That sadly was not possible for us, because our token smart contract is tightly connected to the reversible ICO. So basically, the token smart contract is reading from the reversible ICO of what is the balance of your tokens that you can move. And if you have participated in the reversible ICO, that this function gives back the amount of tokens that can be moved, or the amount that is still locked. And that gives you also the reversibility for those locked amount of tokens. Because these are tightly connected, the only way we could have moved forward is to actually, you would have to redeploy. First, we would have to frozen both smart contract of the token and smart contract of the reversible ICO. Then we would have to redeploy both, either by auto-migrating, which is very complicated, or by actually making everybody refund and then go back into the new reversible ICO. We did that really in the beginning of the reversible ICO because it was easy. It was only 20 people who participated at that point in time. This allowed us even to change the metrics of the reversible ICO to not increase the price by time, but increase it by demand, which was actually really good. But in this case, it would be too complicated. We are too far in the process. Too many people committed their Ether. That would have not been, if you compare like the effort made and the potential things that can go wrong here, and compare it to the amount of LUKS stolen and what's the value on the market and how it could affect the community, it's more dangerous. It would have been far more dangerous to redeploy the reversible ICO and roll everything back and reconstitute the whole connection and system. Yeah. It's more tricky. So basically, what happened, I think it's just a few days ago, the hacker moved his LUKSE. So he stole 622,000 LUKSE, like Marjorie said, and he moved them to an extra address. And when he moved them to this address, he started selling on Uniswap. Problem is, people provided liquidity on Uniswap, and actually we have no participation in the Uniswap liquidity pool at all. Actually, this was something that's created by the community, and it's run and maintained by the community. And we have no ability to simply move liquidity out of the pool. On the other hand, this only really delays the problem. It will not prevent the hacker from selling the LUKSE, which he would eventually do anyway. I would have expected that the price drops far lower, which would actually be nice because the hacker doesn't get a good price. He doesn't get a lot of money out of this. But on the end, it's hovering at around whatever it's right now, 52 cents or so. he sold over 50%. There's no way to reverse this by now. The only thing we could do now is freeze the token movement for everybody, which is obviously not in the interest of anybody. And then still there would be no easily recovery method from that. So we simply have to wait until he sold it all. That's literally most of the things we can do. And we can actually check.
I'm going to be gone for a second because something is coming in front of me. Go ahead. Bye.
So we can check here basically, this is the address that the hacker used to selling all of the LUKS on Uniswap, and you can see he still has 294,000 LUKS-E, currently valued around $200,000. And you see he always sold in quantities of 1,000 because he doesn't want to drop the price on Uniswap either. And he just did it an hour ago. So it's pretty recently ongoing. If we look at the balances of all token holders, if you look at the token holder balance, you see the number 4, the 4 million Ether. And the 4 million Ether is actually the new cold wallet of KuCoin, as far as we can see. And the 800,000 on number 5 is the new hot wallet of KuCoin, which has so in total we have around 4.9, 4.8 million Ether, LUKS on KuCoin, and the number 8 is the current hacker, which is this D5937. Uniswap pool is probably somewhere here. Number 11 is the Uniswap pool. That's the liquidity he's basically using to sell his token off. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not as, I mean, it's 0.6% of the total supply, already almost all sold for a luckily marginal price. So I don't think this will affect long term our community and our network at large. It's something which certainly the community and the market can bear.
Yeah.
Concerning the next steps, so we are basically in talks with KuCoin since
one more thing before we go to the next step. I think we should address also the liquidity pool in Uniswap, and this is something that we've been asked. People have asked us a couple of times, like, why won't we remove the liquidity from Uniswap in order to stop the hacker from selling? And the matter is that, as a fact, we don't have, LUKSO is not providing any liquidity in Uniswap. It's 100% been done by the community. People have created these pools by themselves, and it's up to them to keep them there. I personally, I think it might be beneficial in the long term that the hacker doesn't hold these tokens for too long, to be quite frank. I think it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think once the tokens are not in his possession anymore, we can all rest assured that the token holders are all members of our community who hopefully are all well intended, and so I think there's a silver lining in there, the fact that the hacker is getting rid of his tokens while still our price is more or less remaining stable. So yeah, do you want to add something to the Uniswap? I think that's pretty much it.
No, this is what I described before as well. It's on the end, not in our hands.
Yeah, definitely. So and then the last thing that we wanted to discuss was the next steps, and before we open up for the questions. So obviously, when it comes to next steps, hopefully we are in very close negotiations and discussions with KuCoin about what are the next steps. And obviously, the KuCoin team is working pretty hard. They are working weekends and nights. I can say that as a testament on solving the situation as smoothly and elegantly as possible. Obviously, there is a lot of different pieces that have to come to place. Therefore, the answers are not as fast as we would like to have them. But we're working with them pretty closely. So we have a commitment that we will have by the end of the day tomorrow, we will have a very clear statement about what are the next steps when it comes to opening up the withdrawal and replacing the missing tokens effectively.
Yeah, and KuCoin made in their first statement clear that they will reimburse the users, and that's what they have to do. Obviously,
and they will do it. They're pretty committed to doing so. So we're pretty confident that they will indeed do it.
Yeah, I mean they will certainly do it.
Yeah.
We are in talks with them about the last details of how exactly we arrange that. But yeah, we expect that actually the withdrawals and deposits will be opened very soon again. I have to say that KuCoin handled it pretty well overall. I mean, obviously they made a lot of projects change their token smart contracts and therefore they reduced the amounts of stolen assets, including $T and so on. So they got a lot of help of basically everybody around them.
Yeah.
But they did manage for the amount stolen pretty quickly to regain themselves. Obviously they are sitting on a certain amount of debt they have to have taken from somewhere in order to finance certain of the assets they couldn't replace, or they could not be swapped.
Yeah.
But it's still in general a quite fast response, I have to say, and a pretty smooth process so far.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to be on their side.
Me neither. Me neither.
There
definitely is a nightmare for them, and we know they're working super hard, and they're working nights and weekends and doing everything they can. So from our end, at this moment, we're just waiting to come to a final resolution, and as soon as we have it, we will definitely communicate that, and I hope is something that we are all happy with. So I think, did we address everything, Fabian? Did we touch all over the points? Should we open it for questions now?
Yeah, so this is basically the most information we have. So we can see what's happening on the blockchain. You can literally watch live how the hacker is selling.
Yeah.
Again, liquidity in Uniswap, that's something people provide. I also don't think basically removing liquidity would solve the problem. Again, it would just delay the problem. He will eventually sell it. It would just take longer.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the faster he sells it, the better for the community, because we finally can have the certainty that a malicious person is not owning a certain amount of LUKS. He obviously is neither interested in holding any of those either.
No.
No.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what I would say, we open up the questions. We're having the live chat here in YouTube. So there was one question about the team size. Here.
Let's take 25 minutes for questions, and if there's no more questions, we will leave. But clock is ticking. So make them up. So so I have here the exact numbers.
I would like to address that. So basically, we have already, you see here in our background, we have here in Berlin right now there are 5 sitting here. There's a few more remote coming in the next few weeks. We have in total a team of 12 people. And obviously there are some freelancers which are fluctuating, and we are using sometimes, like certain designers and so on. That's probably...
And of course the community managers come on top of that, and we do work with a team of 6 on the development of our mobile app, and that's an external team. So so the 12 people that Fabian mentioned is like the core LUKSO team. Obviously we're in the process of hiring a couple more developers, and
you also see our really beautiful office here, which we have since quite a while.
It's really pretty. We have really nice lights.
It's actually a lot bigger. It goes a little bit more there, and it goes a little bit more there, and there's a lot of things that are currently going on and making that happen. So the question is, how many people are working on your team apart from the advisors? So the advisors don't work in our project. They are advisors. That's what advisors do. They advise. They work in other companies. They are people that we speak with sometimes. That are people that are helped us and are influential and that have great insight within their industries. Our team is our team. That's the people you see there, and it's the people which are remote, etc. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, let's see. So what happened is people stop investing money if the project has enough. So we do have a solid runway. We have about, I think, 2.5 to 3 years of runway. And in that runway, we do estimate scaling the team. So there's some scaling added to that. If to the current size of the team, it would be an even longer runway. So you guys don't have to worry. We have runway, and we have also invested our own money on LUKSO, and we're here to stay. We're really excited about building this. So there's virtually nothing in the world who can make us change that. So.
Yeah, so especially in the last few months, where there was a lot of traction coming, especially in August, increased the runway by a lot. So the reversible ICO is not the make it or how you call it, the break or make or break?
Make or break, yeah. It's not the make or break of our funding, right?
It's actually the ability for people to invest in this project in a fair and in a secure way.
And definitely, that's a bit of an experiment as well. And obviously, Fabian has been a thought leader in the blockchain space for so many years now. And he was partially very responsible for the ICO wave of 2017 and 18. So obviously it was also a way of proposing how can we do things more interesting, more fair, and so we never rely 100% on the reversible ICO. We do see it as an experiment, partially.
And also concerning the amount, so we have allocated 20% to the public sale. 20%, so currently we have 10% of the total amount which are sold in the reversible ICO, and we have 10% that we are selling over exchanges over a period of time.
So Damien asked, October 3rd, there was a message that KuCoin has identified suspects and contacted authorities. Do you know anything more about this? We don't really know.
Actually, we know as much as Twitter knows. Even though we are in talks with KuCoin, they're not telling us their internals, and they're also speaking to actually like 50 other projects or 100 other projects at the same time. Whatever there is true on that statement or not, I don't know. We can only see what's happening on the blockchain. He's still selling, so he must feel pretty comfortable still. So I'm not sure if that's
and
true.
Can ask, I see Can has heard my latest podcast. Any updates regarding the new advisor in January? Well, no updates yet. It's a teaser. I got a bit too excited in the talk with the host because he's Italian and I'm South American, so we got a bit chatty. But yeah, it's a really amazing advisor. You guys will be really happy, and we will do some really interesting projects with him. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm also very proud that we got that deal done. So stay tuned, Can. I promise, as soon as it's public, you will be one of the first guys to know. Just Chef with chat ask, why are your advisors attracted to LUKSO as opposed to other platforms? You want to answer that?
So I guess there's multiple things. We do have a pretty strong network in the fashion space. The fashion space just really experiences the first real digitalization since actually they exist. There was a little bit of internet through
e-commerce was a bit of a thing for them. They thought it was going to go away, but now they are aware the technology is here to stay. So
we are realizing now that actually, and also they are realizing, and everybody's realizing that fashion, especially in this new digital age, when it's about virtual reality, AR, gaming, and so on, will play a huge role, and it will play a huge role in digital.
Yeah.
And being able, as a brand, for example, to have a digital presence and digital assets that can live within this digital world is a very different thing. Also, from the scalability point of view, that we are. Basically following. So the other thing is
why. But I would like to add something to that. Seriously, we are just, we're really good at what we do, and our advisors know that. And the moment most of our advisors joined very early on, before LUKSO was even public or had a community or anything yet, and they was just really impressed by us and our ideas and what we want to build, and they kind of believe on that. They echo our ethos, they support it, and they were brave enough to join the advisory board of an unknown startup at that point in time. And I think that's just a testament of our talents our skills, and the really solid infrastructure that we are creating, the very solid foundation that is behind LUKSO from a legal perspective, from a business perspective. I think that's perfectly mirrored in our advisory board. So it's not easy to get those people to sign contracts. We make
absolutely
all
not.
of them are advisors on paper. So let me see what else.
And obviously, concerning the advisors in the blockchain space, I mean, I have been part of the Ethereum Foundation. I worked there for 4 years.
Yeah.
The work I have done is basically what everybody is using in DeFi and DApp development right now. So they all, know me from that one.
Okay, so Daniel says, can't wait to welcome Vitalik in January. Okay, so I can tell you, maybe I can tell you something. So the advisor will be more from the fashion end of things.
So I think Uniswap has frozen the liquidity pool. I don't know. So you can actually check in the Uniswap infos if you look at the liquidity pool. Let me see if I can quickly find that. If you don't see any recent transaction, and I don't think actually this is frozen. Why? Because
the hacker sold. He sold like an hour and a half ago, I think, the last time I checked.
So we can actually check this right now. Yeah, if you sold an hour ago and the transaction is not failing, then nothing is frozen there. So we have a current liquidity of 155,000, and the last transactions happened 42 minutes ago. So no, it's not frozen.
Yeah, but that would have been great though. Well, I mean,
it doesn't really make a difference because on the end you simply dragging it out.
Yeah,
You're
I think
not
it's
solving
good
the
that
problem.
long term. But hi, Rafael, nice to see you here. Is this project more about fashion or about secure profiles for dApps?
Okay, this is a good question. So in fact, so we are not a smart contract protocol that tries to solve one problem. We are not an application that tries to solve one problem. We are a blockchain that opens the possibility of using blockchain for a complete new audience, and we are setting the basic infrastructure. We are setting the network, and we are setting the standards on top of which a lot of people, and including ourselves, can build applications that will use those. And as you see with Ethereum did not build tokens into the protocol. Ethereum is a programmable blockchain where I proposed a standard that led to adoption, and therefore we have the token economy. Yeah. The same thing is actually very important, necessary for identity. But pushing, or actually for on-chain profiles, but pushing on-chain profiles within Ethereum is very difficult because first, it's too expensive to deploy them. Second, right now it's pretty slow and it's obviously on its max limit. And it's really hard to actually make this community adopt these kind of basic things because everybody started out with keys. So we have the opportunity to actually have from the start a complete different set of standards that are widely used within the system. That doesn't mean people can come up with other standards, better standards, and invent their own things. It's a programmable blockchain. It runs the EVM, it runs and functions like Ethereum, but on the top it's a bit faster, it's more scalable because it has a different consensus, and because we actually will piggyback from the security of Ethereum. So it's a complete open platform. We set a certain direction, we set certain standards, and we will build use cases that will inspire others to build similar things. So very much what I have done at Ethereum with the Mist browser, the first Web3 browser that basically teaches every DApp developer what a DApp can be and how it works and how you interact with it. And we defined the middle layers and the standards and how you all do these things. The Mist browser doesn't exist anymore, but it was downloaded over 15 million times. It's inspired that wave of DApps we have right now. And it inspired the DeFi industry at large. Same here, but here we are looking into a direction that is more digital assets. It's more new type of digital assets. It's more to creative industries. It's more mainstream. It's more influencers. It's more creative people. In general, it's what we believe the mainstream will be.
Yeah. Definitely, in the fashion part, it's just a catalysator. Like it's like the thing to get it started, right? Like the fashion industry is just very massive and powerful, and they do need a digital transformation, as Fabian was saying. And obviously, us starting bringing blockchain away from DeFi, which is definitely our goal with LUKSO, and starting from the fashion end of things, from like the sneakers, the collectibles, all of that lifestyle space, and effectively bring the mainstream to use blockchain technology. That's our goal.
So we're almost doing here a video AMA. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
Just want to say one thing so we cannot blacklist certain addresses.
Yeah.
So we actually did not add the functionality to move arbitrarily funds, because if we would have that possibility, like we wrote in the blog post, we actually would be a security, right? If we can control every user's fund and move it away from any user, we are basically literally running the show, and we are a security. We do not have any influence on what happens to those tokens and where they go, and we also don't have the ability to freeze addresses separately.
Mm-hmm.
So we can freeze the whole contract. That is the total emergency mode, but that means nobody can move anything.
So let's see.
The soccer club announcement, this is obviously this is still ongoing, but this is everything will have its time.
Yeah, and Daniel says, hope LUKSO will be used with applications against counterfeits. Yeah, I hope too. I hope the same. We're working on it, so very likely will happen very soon. So when Binance?
Ask Binance.
Yeah, but we definitely, in our goals, is obviously to have one or two more exchanges within the next year. Obviously, that's important just to supply liquidity for all of our token holders. And obviously, there is a bit of a risk by being listed in just one exchange. We have seen that now. But we're very confident this is just a little bump in the road, and we're working very actively on other listings. So, but obviously we will remain to be listed in KuCoin in the future as well. So, that's it.
Yeah, so I think this is actually a good conclusion. We have still 10 minutes left according to our little watch here.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
Time.
But if there's no questions anymore, I do think we as a community and in general in this whole KuCoin, disaster, we have been quite lucky, I have to say. It could have been a lot more Lux being stolen in that one. So far, even if you look at the $200,000 left of tokens, that's in the grand scheme almost nothing. So it did not affect us as a community as much as it could have. We actually just got really lucky in that situation, I would say.
Like there's one address with over 4 million LUKSO that was fully safe, so that's really, really great.
The staking with Lux on KuCoin, we don't know. That's very much like a KuCoin internal system.
They make like activities and things like that, so up to them.
Nice sweater. That's a completely normal sweater. Total normal sweater.
How about my sweater? It's just black. What is your first goal in numbers of users or applications? Daniel is putting a lot of good questions.
Where? I don't see it.
Here.
So I so looking into reach out into gaming industry. Actually, we are even working with games. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline, but we are more a project that we announce things once they are done.
Yes.
And not when they might happen. We also don't announce partnerships, because we had a consulting meeting or a phone call with somebody.
Or a POC or something.
We're actually talking with a lot of groups and people since a long time. Obviously, when we are talking about large corporations and companies and brands with a lot of reputation, they are very careful of who they interact with. There's a lot of projects who just take every small thing they do and put it big on the poster. For us, it's about building something big and building something sustainable. And in order to make this network the de facto standard within this new digital lifestyle, it takes a lot of work and it takes some time. But once things come together, it creates a solid foundation, and it's not build a house on sand.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing you guys should know about us is like every time we put a news out there is a news that is founded on real facts and things that actually happen. We are not a big fans of the common blockchain space practices of just putting out there news to start a hype cycle. You know, we have very valuable connections, very valuable, our network is very valuable for us. So we are not interested in just burning those connections for the quick gain. We just want to make sure that we actually build something that is has a certain level of longevity and is utilized by a lot of people, and you know, it takes more patience. I think that's one thing that we need in the crypto space, a bit more patient to actually build sustainable and proper products that at the end will actually be utilized by people and companies. So Bart asked, let's take this, the last question from Bart, is still safe recommended to buy LUKSO and KuCoin? So we always recommend you guys to buy on the reversible ICO. Like, you guys are very safe and solid buying in the reversible ICO. I know you guys will have to do an extra KYC. If you're already part of KuCoin, it's easier. But I mean, once you pin KYC in the reversible ICO, you can always buy more, and you're like in a very safe environment. So our recommendation is buy in the reversible ICO. There's still supply available. So, and I think we leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's
friends. Yeah. Thank you for joining. Send us questions in Telegram. Our community managers will answer, and if something is super important, we will answer. But we hope you guys have a great week, and yeah.